Today I'm going to begin to cover the webcam, the actual video first, then the webcam second. The particular instruction in HTML that we're going to be talking about is called a video. It's a video tag, and it's relatively new. It's so new that it hadn't even been implemented by some of the browsers until recently. So what happened was, originally you'd have a browser, and originally they didn't have video, of course. But then we got Flash, which is something you had to add to your browser from Adobe that would actually help you to see video. And the problem was that it wasn't built into the browser. So what they said is, okay, we got to find a way to do this. Now you remember we just did audio, and the audio has a tag, and the audio tag, gets the sound into the program for you. And so what they did is they impersonated that. They tried to make it look exactly the same as the audio tag. They made a video tag that does the same thing. So it talks just like the audio talks to your MP3s and your WAV files. This one will talk to MP4, which is the standard for using. Well, it's the first standard. There's others too, but it was the first standard for doing video. So everything we're going to do is in MP4. That's the format we're going to use for our videos. And there again, just like with the audio, you could fast forward, you can shut it off, you can pause it, you can do all kinds of things. You also can do that with videos. Okay. It takes a little bit more work. It isn't quite. They haven't got it stabilized, I don't think, to a layman's use. But it's there. The stuff is there, and we can do it in JavaScript pretty easily. What they don't have available for us right away, we can do in JavaScript. But the first thing I want to do is I want to take a little diversion here for a second about keystroke. Last time I told you there was a program, and I added it in again in today's class online, that allows you to hit a key and it tells you what the value of that key is, tells you what the numerical value of that key is, okay? And that will allow you to use keys in your programs to do things. And so what I did today was I set up 3 video programs, and what one of them does is, basically what I wanted to do is I wanted to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. The video I'm going to show you today will show you how to put an image on the screen, how to change its size, how to locate it any place you want on the screen. Okay, that's basically what we're going to do. And then the other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to show you how you could actually move things around on the screen, which we've done sort of. But there's 3 kind of standard ways of moving things around. One is you can have buttons, your own buttons, where you press the button, go left, go right, and the object that you selected can go left or right, whatever. The other way is to use the arrows on the keyboard. You can hit the left arrow and it will go left, and the right arrow will go right. You can do it that way. Or you can grab it with the mouse and drag it around in different directions. So you really have kind of 3 different general ways that it's done. So what I did was I took advantage of the situation where we're putting these videos on the screen and said, well, why don't I just write 3 little programs that will allow you to move the video around the screen. You can also, by the way, make the screen larger or smaller. But here's where the problem comes in. This video stuff is new, and there are certain properties they have not set up right so that they work the way you want them to work. So what happens is that if you have a screen on your window, a little screen to have a video, it has a size, but actually the video itself also has a size. The 2 of them have these 2 things going on. To match them up, and trying to make one bigger or smaller. You can see you have to make both bigger and smaller at the same time. So the problem is that making the screen bigger or smaller at runtime while you're running, you can do it to some degree, but it causes trouble. So rather than deal with that issue, what I decided to do is I decided to stay away from that for our classes. So in other words, when you run a video, you can tell it how big to be. You want it to be 640 by 480 or something. The videos we run, the standard size for all the videos we run look like this, at 4 wide and 3 tall. That's the ratio that was kind of a standard ratio, okay? And that means that whatever length this is, divided by 4 and multiplied by 3, you got to get that size there. So in other words, if whatever this is, if that's 4 units of anything, that's 3 units of the same thing. And that'll give you the picture of the way it comes out of the cameras and the way it comes out of various places. There are different formats, and I have to tell you that doesn't appeal to please every format. But to start off with, just for the beginning, that's a good place to start. That way we'll be uniform, and we don't have to worry about HD or anything else. We'll just deal with one basic format, which is kind of what everything's in anyway. Okay, so how do you write a program that all it does is, if you have a video, you want to play it on your how do you write that program? Okay. So that's what I want to do first. This is this is the basic of all video programs. This is the most basic one. It's got everything that you need right away. I'm not even going to use any JavaScript. I'm going to just leave it in HTML for this program here. If anybody can think of a good idea, I'm going to ask you this because I'm kind of curious about it. Here's what happens. When I bring down that screen, it's a big extravaganza. It's a lot of work and it cuts into our time. It's too bad there wasn't some way for me to be able to project what we're doing in the computer on the screen while I'm working here, and I can say, look at that. As I'm working on it over there, you can see how it works. I haven't thought of a good way to do it. You guys can think of any way. There is the projector in the other room there. It's just overhead. You know, it's that overhead. It's the plastic thing you project. But that means I'd have to go around and make pictures of all my videos and everything, all my programs. So I was trying to think of some way that this thing here could project without having to go through this big rigmarole. If you know of any way that you've seen or you've heard about, let me know, because the technology here is too cumbersome. It's just too much to deal with. No, I can't write on the board while the screen is down. Basically, that's what I'm saying. It's not much use to us. Okay, so let's go on. Sing. That's the head, and then nothing going on there. So there's nothing in the head of this program. Okay. The body. Text line center, color green, blah blah blah. Doesn't need anything else. Just the body. So I'm going to write this. I'm going to take away everything I have here that's not necessary. Video. This is the new tag right here. That's the new tag. It's just like audio. It's just like any of the tags you have. It's a regular tag. And I'll give this thing a name. My audio. I don't have to do this right away, by the way, because I'm not using it for anything. But I just want to be sure that you've seen this tag, that you know that you have to put this in, because we'll be using it later for other things. So in other words, give it an ID. It's just like any of the things we've done. We took a tag, we're giving it a name, just like we give a picture a name or anything. We're giving it a name. Okay? And you got to tell it the source. That knows whatever the videos you're running, and I'll call it stuff. I don't care what it is. This is just the name of the video. It's MP4 rather. There it is for that. And then you also have things like autoplay and loop. You have these guys here, just like we did with the audio. Okay. And we have slash video. There it is. That's the basic one. Then you have slash body and slash HTML. That's all you need to make a video that you have in your computer run. If you have a video that's an MP4, you can make it run. That's what you would do. And as you can see, it's sort of like the audio command. It kind of works the same way. This thing right here, you don't even need this if you're just writing. You don't even need that. Okay, you just need the video. You got to tell where it's coming from. And if you wanted to start right away, which you would in this case, because there's no way of getting it started, put this in. And you don't have to have a loop. You could if you want to. That's optional. And there it is. Is that pretty self-explanatory? It's like as I say, it's like the audio. There's not much going on there. Okay. And some of the videos I use, it doesn't have a soundtrack. Okay. So I add a soundtrack to it. You'll see that online. This guy playing the violin. The robot playing the violin is not moving in the same movements as the music is. He's going like this, and the music's doing something else. But it's hard to tell he's not playing it because it's a robot. But basically, I added it in, and also I had a waterfall in there, which had no noise to it either. And I went and I couldn't find a waterfall like that's kind of a strange one. So when I looked up waterfall sounds, it didn't sound good. So I got a rainstorm. That sounded better. Yeah, maybe that was closer to what you'd expect at that kind of a waterfall. So all I simply did was just add an audio here, that's all. An audio that had that sound in it, that's all I did. And so that's the two first ones you see, that's what they're like. They just basically have the video and the audio. Not call it my audio, I'll call it my video, that's silly. Make no sense with it. Okay. So there it is. That's the beginning one. If you actually wanted to play it in before, that's what you do. Notice there's no necessity to have a JavaScript because there's nothing we're doing to it. We're just playing it straight out. Okay. If I wanted to actually tell this thing how big to be, what size to be, which you might want to do, you want to say how big is this going to be? Is it going to be? It's going to be 4 by 3. But the question is, how big is it, okay? You give it the name, you give it that information in pixels. So actually this thing, if I'm going to write it in its more robust form, I'll show you what normally I would put in, because I like to tell it how big to be. I want it to tell. Otherwise, I think it defaults to the size of your video. They come out, I think it's 640 by 480 or something. 640 being this way and 480 being that way. I think that's the default, but I'm not positive. They might be different. They might be set up in the video somehow. But actually, this is what I would make it look like if I were going to do the whole thing and do everything. I'd be sure to have an ID because I'm going to use that for something. That's going to be the same. And I got to have the source again. And then what I have is a style sheet, the usual. This one here, yeah. I want to keep as close as I can to what I've got online so that there won't be any I put the source. Okay. Hang on a second. This is typical. Let's see if this is right here. There it is. Okay, style. I didn't use the style. Sorry about that. I got to explain this while I'm doing this right in live action here. You can use the style sheet to locate where something is or how big it is. In the style sheet, you can do that with width, with left, and with top. You can do that, okay, if you have a style sheet. You can also put it right into the commands. I don't know why they did this. I'm not sure what the history of this is. But it turns out you don't need a style sheet to put width. You can say what the width of it is and what its left side is and its top is without using even a style sheet, okay? So I think what happens is, this is just my interpretation, I'm not sure if I'm right about this, but I think what happened was that when they first made the video, they didn't didn't think of a style sheet, they just simply wanted to put the commands out there, just like we did with the audio, they just wanted to put them out there. So then they said, well, gee, we already do it with style sheet, why don't we do it that way? So then they allowed you to use the style sheet to say what is the width, and what is the left, and what is the top. So there's two ways of doing it. This is classic with this kind of stuff. When things are being invented, they're not sure what format to use. So what they do is they sort of set it up so you can do it, and then if it turns out another format is better, they incorporate that one in, and you can do it both ways, okay? The history of these things is a big problem, and this is one of those situations. In this program I have right here, the top one, the first one I showed you, it doesn't use a style sheet, it just uses the source, that's all. I just use the source here, and I say how wide it is, and I say how it is. I'm going to put these things in now because you need them actually. So you can say is width. Width in this case is 1280. Now, when I say width is 1280, it overrides the 640 by 480. It tells us, instead of being 640, it's going to be 1280, okay? 640, so that's double it. I made it twice as big as it normally is. They're trying to keep the same ratio. There are certain ratios that you have to know the numbers. Basically, to figure out what a ratio is kind of easy to do. If you figure out what the width of your is going to be, then you multiply it by 3/4. Does that make sense to you? 3/4, and that tells you what the height's going to be. It should be the same. Okay, so that's how you figure out what your height is, if you need to know what your height is. Okay, and the height in this case, not necessary to put it in because it takes care of itself. Equals 960. That can be right. 480 times 2 is 960. Okay, that's good. And again, it has autoplay. And that's it. Now this line right here, and this line right here, I just replaced this one with this one. You can see the only difference is I added in the width, the height, and the width and height. And the thing is, you don't need a style sheet to do it. You can just put them right in there. That's an option. Okay. I like to use a style sheet, and because when you use a style sheet, we're doing something we've done. It works. Style sheets work perfectly good. It does something we've done already, and then when you start going to JavaScript, you've done the same thing, so you know what you have to do. If you do it this way, it gets kind of tricky because normally what we do up in JavaScript, we say the ID dot style dot the functions you want to do, whatever it is, left, right, up, whatever you want to do. Okay. In this case right here, what you would do is you would say video dot width with no style in there. Okay. And that gets a little bit confusing, so I want to avoid that if I can. You see the point? I don't want to make it. It looks easier because there's only one less thing to do, but it doesn't cover all the possibilities that we do with style sheets. So I want to make sure that we end up in JavaScript saying something like my video dot style dot width. So we have that in there, but you can't do that with this line right here. You'd have to do it if you did it as a style sheet. Okay. And let me write this thing with a style sheet now. I'll write that same line right there, the way we would normally write the thing with a style sheet. Okay. It looks like this. A video. ID equals, again, whatever it is, .mp3. Oops, not .mp3 here. It's over there, source equals thing .mp3. Now, then you say style, possibly, equals. If you're going to say a style sheet that involves anything like shapes or locations, always put the, let's see if we need that or not here. I think we do. I don't know if we do or not. Let me just check here. I'll learn my own stuff here. to put it in because it won't hurt anything, but I think it's necessary. I know if you're going to say left z-index or top, you definitely have to put these in. If you have to put it in with width and height, I'm not sure. To tell you the truth, I've never experimented. I don't really know that for certain. But it never hurts to put this in. Position absolute never hurts, because unless you're telling it to go to a specific spot, it doesn't hurt anything. But it also ensures. You have a question?
Yeah. What does z-index mean?
The z-index? Oh, if you have when you open up a picture on a page, it's on a zero plane. 1 is this plane over here. 2 is this plane over here. In other words, it's got depth. And what z-index does, it moves it to a plane in front. So, for example, if you had a picture on the 0 plane, which is the middle, and you told another picture to be on the 1 plane, it would be in front of it. Block it out. Right? And negative goes the other way. Negative goes into the thing. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3 goes into it. So basically it's a way of just making depth into your things, put one in front of the other. Okay. So position absolute, now what we do is we say with colon this time. Don't forget, because when your style sheet you say colon, you don't say equals. 1280. And semicolon height is 960. And these other two guys here, autoplay and loop. They might have found a way to put them in the style sheet, but I don't think they have, so you just put them outside. Just put them out like you want it automatically.
So just for clarification, that bottom line is supposed to be video?
Did I say audio someplace?
Well, you've got .mp3 in the source.
MP3, thank you so much. Thank you very much. Okay, and let me just close this and I'll get it done here. Okay, so we, I think that's all. Oh, so we're going to put audio, we're going to put autoplay, play, and loop. And I think that brings us to the end of the video. Yes, that should be good. Let me just check here to be sure the other one's okay. I'll leave the formats here. I gotta keep my act together. Let's see, this one's right here. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, that should be fine. Now, that's all we need to it. That's the end of it right there. So basically, to do a video, it's just like the audio. You have an ID, you have a source, and then you have a style sheet. You can do it that way, or you can do it this way, which just puts it up, and it doesn't create a style sheet, it just puts width equals. You see the difference, width equals, quote, 1280, height equals, quote, 960. This one down here is a style sheet works together. Width, colon, 1280, no quotes, semicolon, height, colon, 960, no quotes, except at the end of the entire thing. So in other words, the source one still works the same. That's why I don't like to fiddle around with them, because you get some people make a mistake and they see the equal sign, put the equal sign down in here. It gets troublesome. So I like to stick with this format right here. But I wanted to show you that one because when you go online to find stuff, you find some program you like or something, you're going to see some variations of this. You know, you're going to say, well, this doesn't look right, but it is right. As I've often said in this class, the one thing that is most upsetting in all of our technology is the multiple ways that you can do stuff. Because when you go to steal something, which is what we do in this class, when you go to steal something, you look at it and you say, oh, this doesn't look like what I'm used to. And that's the problem. It actually gets like that. And I can't show you all the variations because, believe me, there's lots of variations in these things. But these are the basics. That's the basic thing right there. So it's going to be 1, 2. any of these things right here. These two will be the same. That one doesn't show you the height and width, so that's just the right basic format. Okay, that's it. And when you go online, you'll see there's programs that use these things, so you'll see how they work. Okay, so that's the first thing. It's just simply writing down the HTML5. This is HTML5, by the way. You should know that. That's a good point. I should mention that now. When you go to look up how to do something online, and you say how to do something in HTML, always ask for HTML5, because there's some old websites up there. They'll tell you how to do things that are they're not there, and then you can't do it that way anymore. So always ask for HTML5. It'll give you a little leg up there. Okay, so that's the first step. The next question is, when you have an image and you want to give it some dynamics, in other words, you want to change something dynamically while it's running. So, for example, you got a movie showing, and you want to be able to take that movie and grab a hold of it, or somehow get that screen to move out of the way so you can do something else on that screen. In other words, you have total control over the screen. And so I want to write that program to show you how to get that control in JavaScript. The question is getting JavaScript to do what you want it to do, okay? Button, let's see, I'll pick the easiest one first.
I got a question real quick.
Go ahead.
So what you're saying about HTML5, that's not changing the format at all that we're saving. The name of, when we save everything as HTML, our programs, we don't have to put 5 in there or anything, right?
Put
just
5.
when we're looking up stuff about HTML, we want to search for
Oh,
HTML.
no, just HTML, right?
Oh, okay.
HTML, right?
So we're not saving our programs differently.
Yeah, I
Okay.
see what you're saying, yeah. Don't just
Because it's video, okay.
Yeah, that's true, Bill. I'm going to give you the one with the arrows first, because it gives us something we haven't done before as well. What this program's going to do is, you're going to have a screen, and on the screen, there's going to be a movie showing. There's the movie showing. And all I simply want to do is use the keyboard arrows, these arrows right here, to move that around. Move in different directions, so by pixel, okay? So what this does is it gives you two things that are handy for us. One is it shows you how to get the information from the video up into JavaScript, how to control it. And the second thing it gives you is a little bit of practice, a different change in moving things around. We never did it with the arrows before, so I'll show you how to do that, okay? To begin with, we need HTML and head. This time we're going to have a script in here. We need this script first of all. The mouse key, I don't need that. Yes, I do need that. Okay, so I need this right here. So the first line you need is to have, you're going to use the key, the mouse key, because you're going to be hitting the keys and you're going to want to know what those keys are, okay? So you need to know that right there. That's JS right there. Right? So therefore we're going to incorporate that. The mouse is involved here. We're only going to use the keys, but the include controls both the keys and the mouse. Because when you say mouse key, that means it controls both. You can use the mouse or the keys and do both of you. Okay. Next thing is the program itself. Or this or that. The program itself goes right here. variables here. Okay, the reason why I'm putting these variables in here let's see if I even use these things. Yeah, I do. I'm going to have this variable is to control the location of these things right here, and the width and the height of the thing. Okay, they're variables in over here, like we just wrote previously to the thing to demonstrate in the video tag. But up here, I'm going to have to in the program, I'm going to have to address those variables. Okay, so what I want to do is, if I have the width equal to 640, for example, I want to have a variable up here in my program that says 640 also, because I do arithmetic on that one, and then I copy it to that one. So I keep changing that one by changing the one I have, but initially they both have to be the same. So if I subtract 10 from this, and then put it in here, it's like subtracting 10 from that. Does that make sense to you? So you've got to have a variable in two different places. That's the problem of having JavaScript that has different variables than the HTML has. So you've got to make sure they stay together there. They're lined up with each other. The height of the thing, I don't think I use that one here. Hang on a second. I don't think I use that. I'm just going to put down the ones I use. This program's actually got more stuff in it. Okay, so we'll get this here. Top. Let's top. Equals. This is location. 300. Variable mid left 500 like so, and that's it. So these two variables right here are going to be in the video. The video is going to say I'm going to have a style sheet. It's going to say put this guy to the left 500 and put it from the top 300. So that's going to be over here. So these two numbers match those two numbers down there. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to make a function that's going to allow me to hit the arrow keys and move the thing left and right, those 4 arrow keys right there. Each one of those arrow keys has a value. Let me tell you what they are. This one right here, its key value is 38. This one's key value down here is 40. This one's key value to the left is 37. This value over here is 39. Okay. These are the key values. So when I hit that left arrow key, I get a 37. If I hit the top arrow key, I get a 38. If I hit the right arrow key, I get 39. If I hit this down arrow, I get 40. So in other words, when I hit those keys, those numbers become available to me. That's the key I hit. That's what this thing does for you. Okay. But the first thing is, because once we're running that thing, it always comes to a function. It comes down to this function called, when you hit a key, once you turn it on, it always comes down to key hit, or another function, there's another function called key up. It goes, if you let go of a key, it goes down to the key up function. When you press the key down, it goes to the key hit function. And it always carries the same information, which is the number of the key you hit, whatever number that was. So what happens is, first of all, if I hit this key right here, 38, like that, then this thing called keystroke, one word, stroke. This thing right here, keystroke, when it comes into key hit, that keystroke contains the number that it sends to you. It says this is the key you hit, numerically. So in other words, what happens is when you stop that thing, mouse key going, it jumps to key hit after you hit the arrow, and then that contains the value of the key that you hit. And now we're testing it to see if it was an up key. Is it an up key? That's what 38 is, because we know 38 is the up key. Okay? If it's a 38, then what we do is, I'll write all this down, then we'll talk about it. Top. Here, okay. this is new to you right here. I'm going to have to talk about that a little bit. Document. It. Element. Okay, I'll have to talk about this line a little bit, what it all does. Remember what I'm trying to do. If I hit 38, which is this up key right here, I want to move the picture up a little bit. That's the whole point of the thing. That's what this line is supposed to do. Okay. So if I hit 38, what happens is, 38? Yes, it is. So it comes over here and takes vid top and subtracts 2 from, this is vid top right here, 300. Don't forget, if you subtract, you go upward, because it's going back to 0, right? Well, if I want to go up, I have to subtract. So I subtract 2 pixels from it. I say, okay, move it up 2 pixels. And I do that by saying, take vid top and subtract 2. And this right here is really weird. This line right here is equivalent to this. Vid top equals vid top minus 2. And those two, this thing right here and this thing right here are exactly the same. It's a shorthand way of writing it. You don't have to keep writing all the stuff on the right-hand side that you wrote on the left. So it simply says that whatever's in vid top, take 2 away from it. If I put a plus sign here, it would add 2 to it. So whatever number's here, it'll minus it from this. And whatever number's here, you can add it to that. You put a plus sign, it'll add it to it. And that's equivalent to this right here. Or if this is a plus right here, it would be like that. It's the same thing. They're both the same, okay? In our case, we want a minus here because we want to subtract. We want to move the thing up, so we want to subtract. Okay, so we're subtracting. And now what we have is a vid top, which is littler than it was. Instead of being 300, it's 298. Okay, so it's 298. Then we say, document get capital E element, capital BY, capital ID. That right there is how we get the information from my video, which is the ID of our video down here. We give it an ID of that. We say, get the information, dot style, dot top. What this does is it says get the information of my video down here and take its style and take its top and put that into it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this 298 here and I'm putting it into that location, into the new top. So in other words, what top does then is, if top was 300 right here, now it's 298, it goes up. And that's what it does, it simply moves the image up, that's all. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so so far so good. And then what happens is, I do the same thing for all the other, for the 37, 34, and the 40. I do the same thing for these. In other words, I have to have, if I hit a key, I have to say, well, is it 38? If it key stroke equals, don't forget there's 2 sign in there, 40. That's in the downward direction. And in which case you say vid top plus equals 2. And then you do exactly the same thing as this. So as these two guys right here, at 38 it goes up, at 40 it goes down. Because 38 brings it up, 40 brings it down too. And that's what causes it to happen. And then in the other two, you're going to go sideways, left and right. It looks like this. You say if keystroke equals, don't forget it's got to have 2 equal signs in there, equals 37, I'm going to go to the left. Then what we do is we use vid left, because that's the thing that controls left and right. So we say vid left minus equals 2 XL. So if we go to 498, we're gonna move this way. So we have -2. So if I hit 37, I wanna go to the left, and I wanna subtract 2 from it, so I subtract 2 from it right here. That's a minus sign. Okay. And then, this part over here is the same, pretty much the same, but I'll write it out anyway. Document dot get element. And you can see these online much better, by the way, by ID of my video. Again, don't forget, this right here is the ID that you set up down below. Dot style dot left this time equals vid left. So in other words, this is the one we'll be changing now, and we're putting it into the video. And you do the same thing for if keystroke is equal to 39. 2 equal signs in there, 2 equal signs in there, 39. Then you do the same thing here, except you say vid left plus equals 2. That's because you're going that way instead of this way. And the rest of it's the same. And there it is. These are the three. So it knows there's 4 keys, 4 left, right, up and down. You test the up key, the down key, the left key, the right key. And if it's none of those, nothing happened. You just don't do anything. So that's what the key hit looks like. And that's the easiest one, by the way, to move stuff around. It's very easy to move stuff around. The only problem with it is you got to go, you got to keep holding the thing down, and it goes this way, then it goes that way. It takes a while for it to ride around. That's a little bit of a nuisance. Okay. That's this part of the program. The other part of the program, which I can fit right in here if I'm careful. This part here is, well, after you finish this thing, you're going to say /script. And /head. So that's out of the way. So in other words, that whole first part is done. Now you go to body. And when you're in the body, by the way, first thing you have to do, be sure to turn that on. And you come in and turn on the startup, so you say on load. Startup. You've got to remember this. If you forget this, startup is it's a function. Okay. So you've got to remember that startup thing. It's essential to make the thing actually operate. That turns this on. Okay, then we have the video. And it's called My Video. And I only called it that. You can call it you want, but it's still going to be the same as that. That's you're calling My Video. And then you're calling the style sheet information, the source of it. In this case, we're going to use Campfire. That's what the thing was called, MP4. MP4. And then I went right straight to the style sheet. This continues on to the style, which equals position absolute. Width 640. Height 480. Semicolon. Left 500. Top That's it. Cool, yeah, 300. So, then I had autoplay. A loop. That's it. There it is, that's it right there. Just an absolute, it's got a width, it's got a height, it's got a left and a top. Then I said autoplay. That's it, so that's what the video, oops, one more thing. Over here, you're gonna say slash video. Slash video. You should have put that in there. I'm not sure if all the browsers care about that, but just to be certain, I don't want to they won't work. And so that's that, and then what you do after that is you say slash body slash HTML. That finishes it off. And that should work. And what that will do is, that'll allow you to, the picture will come up on the screen. It'll be located in position left 500, so it'll be 500 from there, and 300 down on the top. It'll be right here someplace. And when you start hitting these arrows, it will start moving around on the screen. That's how you do it. The whole picture will move around on the screen. Okay. Now, the other thing, did I put height in here? I put height in here, yes, width and height. Width and height, you could also change up here with one of these things if you wanted to. You could actually put a key in here for width and height, change the width, change the height, and it would be exactly the same, except when you say if statement over here, across here like that, instead of changing top, you change width or height right here, you can do that. But that's where it gets tricky. Dynamically changing, you're going to find out that it's not quite so simple. There's some problems here because of the frame and the actual image. It causes some problems. It seems to work, and then you'll see it doesn't after a while. Okay, so that's actually the basic program that allows you to put a video in your program right here, and to go to JavaScript and actually do something to that picture, to that image. Now, there are also functions that allow us to pause it and do all the other things, which I'm not going to do that today. It's just too much. But basically, there are things we can do to make it pause and make it do different things. Again, you do it in JavaScript. You just simply have a thing that says pause it, run it, and so forth. So we can do all that stuff. And by the way, if you don't want to wait for me, if you're really anxious to get to some of these things, don't be afraid to go up and say HTML5 video pause. How do you pause it? In JavaScript, say JavaScript. And it'll give you a little routine. You can see how it works. Okay. And that pretty much takes care of that part of it. Let me see, there's some other things I want to tell you about before we go online here. Give me a second. Okay, in the case of the fire one, I don't know if you guys looked at, anticipating what we're going to do today, but I had this program with the robot playing the violin and all that stuff. Did you see that one? You want to see that one? But it's got a lot of stuff in it. Essentially, aside from just writing a program to show you something and to do something, most of the time you're trying to tell a story. It's almost like Walt Disney telling a story. Every web page is a little story of some kind. And so what I want to do is give you some tools so that you can actually tell the story by animating, moving stuff around, by making various sounds, and by doing whatever you need to make a visual from an HTML page. But I'm going to get rid of this. It's online anyway. You have everything here online. But if you look at what we've done so far, the plan is to be able to allow you to use any device you have, the keyboard, the mouse, your voice, or even the video. Next class I'm going to show you how to capture your own video, the webcam. And once you capture the webcam, you can actually do stuff. It's possible to use your motion to do things. I use it, for example, I wrote a program, and what all it simply does is it looks at my face when I'm not smiling, and then it looks at my face when I am smiling, and then it puts up a little happy creature. And when I smile, it smiles. When I go frown, it frowns. Because it captured my face in those positions. And it didn't care whether I was smiling or not, but I said, here's what I look like when I'm smiling. And whatever my face was, it captured that. And then this is what I look like when I'm not smiling, and it captured that. And there's a simple way of comparing two images. And with those two images looks mostly like the one I said I was smiling, it put the smiley face up. And it says if one of the two images looked like when I was frowning, it puts the frowning face up. And the point is that now you have a program that's kind of funny. Somebody can sit down, they can just smile, and the thing will smile back at them. Or they can frown, and it'll frown back at them. And so it doesn't seem like, when you think about writing and stuff, it doesn't seem like there's much going on there. But when you incorporate that into your story, things start to happen. You get some tools to be able to make your story more interesting. There's two things you do with a web page, and these things web page people usually talk about, but this is a sort of a programming class. But step one, you're trying to get a message across of some kind. And step two, you're trying to soften the message with some kind of embellishment so that it looks cool, looks nice, interesting, whatever it is. The rule is never let the trying to make it look interesting part get in the way of the message. Don't let it destroy the message. If you watch movies that are made today, particularly the intermediate Star Wars films, for example, the ones after the first originals, and they started making other ones, what they were doing is they were using it as a platform to sell their three-dimensional graphics. So everything was huge 3D graphics going on all over the place. In fact, it became tedious after a while. They lost story in the thing. It all became graphics. And that's a classic example of what happens on a web page. If you do too much stuff, it's too glittery, too moving around, the message you're trying to get across is not simple. Now, advertisers use that, not advertisers, but commercial companies that are trying to sell stuff. They take advantage of that. Did you ever notice you go on a web page and you can't figure out what to press? That's not an accident. They want you to press the wrong thing. No, they're setting you up to try to get into one of their labyrinths of, they're going to show you their product. And so they actually take advantage of it. But if you're telling a story and you're trying to tell an honest story, you've got information, you want to give that information get across to them. You basically want to make sure that everything's clear. They know exactly what's going on. The page never becomes so embellished that you can't tell what's going on. And another rule that's kind of good is to be sure that whatever you're doing on the page is kind of related to getting that message across. For example, if you're selling a message about flying in an airplane, you wouldn't have a bunch of cats doing stuff with cats doing this, cats doing that, because cats are not relevant to it. You'd have something else, something that's more airplane oriented. It's not that you can't add a cat into it, but I'm saying if you focus on the cats thing, the people who look at it will never get the message. They'll never get the message they're trying for. But you guys are watching enough ads, you know how this works pretty much, but it's worth saying one time that you should always be careful to be sure that whatever you do in this storytelling, it promotes the objective of the web page, whatever that happens to be, okay? So you can lose it when you start getting too artsy-fartsy. What I want to do is turn the machine on here, and I'm going to go through the web pages we have to kind of show you what. We'll take a little break, a minute break. I'll get it going.